I'm constantly hearing people say, I saw a pair of binoculars that looked amazing on the listing, but when I tried them on a hike they turned out to be a disappointment. It's a real frustration because the pictures can be so polished that you end up paying for a promise rather than performance. That hesitation is what drove me to actually spend a weekend out in the field, swapping a few different compact models, reading the fine print on waterproof claims, and even checking how the accessories feel after a day of moving around. If you've ever bought a pair of binoculars that looked perfect online only to find the focus wheel is too stiff or the image gets foggy after a sudden rain, you'll want to hear this. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Vortex Razor UHD 8x32 is marketed as a high-end compact set that should sit comfortably in a pocket yet deliver the kind of clarity you'd expect from a much larger scope. The first thing I wanted to verify was whether those claims hold up when you actually put them on a trail, a birdwatching blind, or a stadium seat. I paired the binoculars with Vortex's GlassPak Pro harness because the harness is part of the package and the idea is that you can keep both hands free while still having instant access to the optics. Let's talk about who this actually works for. If you're a serious birdwatcher who needs to spot a warbler perched 200 yards away from a dense thicket, the 8 magnification strikes a sweet spot. You get enough power to fill the field of view without the shake you normally get at 10 or higher. The 32mm objective lenses, while smaller than those on a classic 1050, still gather enough light for a bright, colorful image in most daylight conditions. That makes the Razor UHD a solid choice for anyone who spends a lot of time moving: hikers, cyclists, even weekend photographers who need a quick glance at distant scenery. On the other hand, if you're looking for a nighttime or low-light specialist, you might want to skip this model. The compact objective size means the binoculars can't compete with larger, high-accipable optics in deep shade or dusk. I tried them on a cloudy early morning hike, and while the colors were accurate, the image was a touch dimmer than what I'm used to seeing with a 1050 pair. So if your primary use is twilight wildlife watching or astronomy, you'll probably be happier with a bigger instrument. Now, the practical strengths. First, the optics themselves feel surprisingly crisp. Vortex uses a Schmidt Pechan prism design, which keeps the overall length short while still delivering an upright image. The index-matched lenses do a solid job of keeping colors true across the spectrum, so a blue jay looks vivid rather than washed out. I noticed that even in bright sunlight the image stayed sharp across the whole field. There were no sweet spots where the center was clearer and the edges fuzzy. That matters when you're scanning a horizon for a distant ridge or trying to locate a bird that's moving through a canopy. Second, the build. The chassis is machined from magnesium, and that's where the weight savings become noticeable. The pair feels feather-light, around 14 ounces total, so they barely register on a daypack strap. I could hold them for several minutes while scanning a lake without my arm cramping. The open hinge design also means you can quickly fold them back into the harness without worrying about the barrels rubbing each other. Speaking of the harness, the GlassPak Pro really shines in real-world use. It's a low-profile sling that sits on your shoulder with a quick-release latch, allowing you to swing the binoculars up and down without taking them out of the bag. I tested it on a steep trail where I needed to keep my balance. The harness kept the optics stable and prevented them from swinging wildly as I navigated switchbacks. The strap material is water-resistant, and because the binoculars themselves are argon-purged with O-ring seals, they didn't fog up even after I walked through a sudden mist. That combination of weatherproofing and harness convenience is something you rarely get at this price point. What about the downsides? The focus mechanism, while smooth, can be a little finicky for people with weaker fingers. The central focus wheel has a decent travel range, but you need to apply a firm, steady pressure to lock it in place. I found that after a couple of minutes of adjusting on a moving bike, the wheel would slip a fraction, forcing me to readjust. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting if you have arthritis or prefer a turn-down focus system. Another subtle trade-off is the eye relief. At around 16 mm, it works fine for most people, but if you wear glasses you may need to cup the barrels a bit more to see the full field. The right eye diopter adjustment helps fine-tune each side, but you still have to position the binoculars carefully. In my experience, it took a few tries to find the sweet spot where the image was both clear and comfortably.